New place, same bat channel.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, same place, same thing. What?
Yeah, whatever. Cause this is my United States or whatever. And this is my United States or whatever.
Welcome to Whatever with Don and Justin. This is on this date in history. On this date in music history, Clear Channel, the radio broadcast provider, whatever you want to call it, conglomerate, actually banned this among many other songs in 2001 because of sensitivity issues. You can imagine Benny and the Jets wouldn't go over too well 4 days after September 11th, but it was interesting. They banned a whole bunch of songs with references to airline travel or New York landmarks, just to avoid pissing people off. So there you go. But I always find that kind of stuff interesting because I wonder how long that even was in effect for. And I remember right after September 11th in 2001, one of the biggest hits on the radio shortly after that was Alive by POD. And I remember people saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that song came out when it did because it makes me feel so much better about everything that happened." And it's like, really? Because that's pretty sad. That's still POD and the song's still lame. Oh, well. POD was basically like Korn for families. It's a family-safe Korn. And you know, you can like rock out, right? And you see the guys with like dreads and stuff, and you're like, "Oh man, I can identify with them because they're hip and cool, and I'm a Christian." Okay. I'm thankful for every breath I take. All right. So anyway, welcome to the latest edition of Whatever with Don and Justin. I am not Justin, and
I am not Don.
that is correct. And since we last adjourned 2 weeks ago, I have relocated. I am now in El Paso, Texas, instead of Atlanta, Georgia, which is kind of a different thing. I don't know. It's not really too different, I guess. I'm not too different. My life isn't too different. My days pretty much were comprised of surfing NeoGAF and playing video games.
That hasn't changed.
Not much, no. Actually, in my downtime, it hasn't changed. I guess the only difference is I now have a full-time job, which I have to go to. And it's actually like normal hours for the time being. It's like 8 to 5, and while I'm training. And what's going on there is, if you guys ever see the news commercials for your local news, the ones where the reporters like tease what they're going to be talking about on the newscast, that's called a topical. And a topical producer is a person that writes and edits that. And that's what I am. That's what I do. So
And that's pretty awesome. I gotta say, like,
thanks.
I've known you for a while now, and the fact that you've gone from nothing to literally nothing. I mean, from nothing to something.
Oh, right.
That's what I meant. Let me correct
It's
my
not
own
much
self.
of something. It's a small market, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
cool.
but
It's
cool.
a start, and it's something I'm not really familiar with, but like the whole tease writing process and whatnot. We've gone over some things, and there's certain ways of doing it that they're like formulas. Basically, you can kind of write out like this. You write out like the topic of the news story, then you write out like who, what, where, when, why, and how, and then you eliminate each one of those questions and pick which one is the best to answer the tease with.
Wait,
Yes.
so literally your job is like the board game Clue.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So and it's always Colonel Mustard. But yeah, that's essentially what that person's or my job now is. And it's cool, but right now I only have to worry about one newscast on one station at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then in about 3 weeks, the reason I was hired is going to actually happen. It's this one station bought another station across town, and they're moving into one building. And instead of doing one newscast on one news station, I'm going to be doing 4 newscasts on 2 news stations and the overnight teases as well for the next day. So I'm gonna go from 1 tease per day to 6, which is gonna be kind of overwhelming. So, but we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be okay. But it's an interesting job. Right now, a lot of the reporters write their own teases because it was just kind of they didn't have the manpower to do it. So they got them into the habit of actually writing them themselves, but that's typically not their job. They actually have a dedicated person to do that for them. So
They were like, "What is this bull crap?
Yeah,
Hire
pretty
somebody
much.
stat."
yep, and that's me, and we'll see how that goes. That's me.
That's me.
That's me. Oh,
He can
hi,
almost
doggy.
taste it.
That's me.
Oh,
Um,
cheep, 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 cheep.
So, always back to the room. All right. So anyway,
Yeah,
I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes. Not really. It's pretty boring, but we'll see. What have you been up to, Justin? Anything?
Well, I did some grilling and been playing a lot of Destiny lately.
And been a
And
villain?
Been a what?
You've been a villain.
I'm always a
Grilling
villain.
like a villain.
Grilling like a villain, billin, straight up grilling. I'm repeating myself now. So anyway, no, things have been good. Family's good, wife's good, baby's good. Baby's got 2 teeth coming in.
Nice.
Baby's starting to hold her bottle. So
I saw her
things-
feeding herself on Facebook.
yeah,
That's
I was
pretty
like,
funny.
thank goodness I can't be lazy now.
It was
No, but they're
green
doing really
beans of
good.
all things.
There's a thing called Oktoberfest that's going on in the city park this weekend. So we went and I had some bratwurst and stuff, and
Nice.
it was good. It was good. So,
That's
but
cool.
gaming wise, Destiny. TV wise, catching up on Walking Dead. Movie wise, I don't think Oh well,
Nothing.
yeah, I haven't seen anything too crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing that's been coming out that's worth seeing anyway in the theater. Yeah, so gaming wise, Destiny is what we're going to
Yeah.
start with. Also coming up tonight, we got a discussion about late to the party stuff that we're just now catching up to. You for The Walking Dead, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I actually checked out the first season of a show on FX called The Bridge. And I'll talk about that one. It's kind of interesting, especially where I'm living. That's why I started watching it. And I watched Edge of Tomorrow last night with Tom Cruise, which is actually surprising, to say the least. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and start with Destiny. You've been
All right,
playing
so-
it. My roommate has a copy of it out there in the living room that's been sitting there for 3 days, and I didn't touch. I could have played it all weekend, but I just didn't. I've been playing other things, but
Yeah.
go ahead. What do you think of it?
All right. Well, I wasn't hyped for Destiny at all, and which is odd for me because I'm a fan of Bungie. I like the Halo games, and
And Oni.
Oni. I actually tried to play. It's just the controls were just god awful. But I've enjoyed their FPS games, and I think they're pretty much a master of their craft, so to speak. But
Mhm.
Destiny is a different breed. I don't think they advertised it. Oh well, let me say this. They advertised the hell out of it, but I don't think they quite advertised it to the exact type of game that I think it is.
Okay.
It's there's the whole like MMO always online thing that they were pushing, and then obviously the first person stuff. But I think a lot of people had it in their head that Destiny is going to be this game with like lots of worlds to explore, almost like Mass Effect style, but first person, heavily dramatic story, etc. And instead, we've pretty much got Borderlands plus Diablo plus first person shooter. I mean, in a nutshell. And you could add variations into that. You could say Phantasy Star Online or there's something else I can't think off the top of my head. But basically, they took the quality core first person shooting mechanics that they've done,
Mhm.
and in Destiny they're really good. The combat is great actually, and it feels real good. The controls are nice and smooth, and everything feels real nice to it. But they threw it in a world that is limited to basically for a story limited to 4 planets with 5 levels apiece. And once you get through it, you can do the special strike missions, which require 3 people. And it's like a bigger, different area of the map on those levels with a really big boss. And so it's kind of like a raid. But then they've actually got raids coming out for end game stuff. And this is just the start of this game. And they're going to do expansions and they're going to do updates and etc. So it's supposed to be a long-term game.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I don't know. Going into it, I didn't know what to think of it, but now playing it, I think I'm kind of hooked. I've played it every day,
Okay.
literally
That's
every
a
day.
good sign. Bungie thanks you for that, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But there's going to be a lot of backlash, as there has already been, because I think people that are into COD and Call of Duty and stuff. I think I don't think it's going to be something that maybe they thought there was going to be more of a campaign to it. And really, I just think that this game will appeal to more the people that like Diablo, the people that like, loot-driven games, the people that don't care about the story per se, or set pieces after set piece in their first-person shooters. And I think that's the market that will keep it going. But the market it was marketed for was like everyone.
Right.
Everyone and their mother, like, oh, you like
I
first-person
think
shooters, you like
I think it'll
MMOs?
be more accessible to somebody that doesn't like Diablo per se, just because of it
Yes.
being an isometric type of game. That
Yes.
kind of limits it audience wise, because those kinds of games have a stigma, I think, with certain groups of people as being somewhat like either it's kind of Dungeons and Dragons sort
Yeah.
of game or something like that, and it's just a little kind of nerdy for people. Whereas
Yeah, but
the first person shooter genre is
it's the
so
rage.
yeah, it's so just like accessible for the mainstream gamer. I think that was what Bungie was going for whenever they like came up with this
Yeah.
idea. They were like, "What? How can we take Halo and make it even more accessible?
Yeah.
To a type of person, and get them hooked on a model, a revenue model that is completely evergreen, basically." And they'll have revenue coming in from the expansion packs and whatnot for like
Oh yeah.
months, if not years to come because of this. So
Well,
it's kind of an
here,
interesting approach they took to designing the game.
oh, definitely. And here's the thing I find very interesting about it. A lot of games these days, they hand fished you the tutorial levels and everything. Destiny literally doesn't really tell you much of anything. It basically, you get in the game, and it like right at the start it'll tell you like, oh, here's how you run, and here's how you jump, and blah blah, as you're just going through this like mission. But other than that, like items, rare items, how what the difference is between certain equipments,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff is you have to figure it out on your own. It's like tinkering. I mean, I have items, I still have no idea what the hell I do with them, and I'm on the last world of the campaign.
Man.
But then I've got multiplayer maps or missions I can do,
Mhm.
and then I've got you get your second gear tier stuff after you get your level cap. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's a game that's meant for longevity, not for not for the quick buck.
Right.
Not for the quick like, hey, like if you're gonna only play this game for the campaign and then be done with it, you probably shouldn't bother, because
That's-
the campaign isn't anything special.
When they announced that they had signed, I don't think they announced it, but it leaked in those court documents that it was a 10-year contract they signed with Activision, and
Mhm.
Destiny was this giant overarching trilogy of sorts or something. But basically, it's sort of like just one really long game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's Destiny as a project, and it's not just like Destiny 1, 2, and 3 that are going to come out. It's just Destiny, and it's it's pretty much just going to be expansion packs, basically, is what I think. And it's really, like I said, an interesting approach, because it's just going to be a title that they work on for a decade, and it's basically kind of going to be an MMO, but you're going to have to, instead of subscribing every month or whatever, you're just going to pay for the different installments that they come out with.
Yes.
And that's what's
And-
interesting to me is just the whole, it's kind of like a new take on
Yeah.
an old idea, right?
It's a bold step in a especially in a console market. And again, I don't know. I was looking at some of the reviews for it, and I understand people being disappointed in it, especially with something with so much hype.
Yeah.
Anything that has this level of hype is bound to disappoint many people, because it just can't live up to the insane amount of hype that it was generating.
Mhm.
But I do think for fans of the genre, I don't know. Like I said, I've been hooked on Diablo, and I've played Destiny every day since I got it. Every day, even if it was for like only an hour, 2 hours, 35, 45 minutes, and it's got that hook. And yes, there could be improvements. The loot drops aren't as good as they could be. There's other weird questionable designs, like how come when you do a mission on the story mode, does it kick you back out to the orbit instead of just letting you go to the next mission, like while you're
Mhm.
on the planet already, and etc. But I truly believe, because of the way the game is made and their ideas, that there's going to be tweaks and changes to it, just like with Diablo 3. Diablo 3, as its state now, was nothing like it was when it first released,
Interesting. That's,
and not at all.
I think, a tribute to Bungie's designers. I've seen a lot of the reviews, and they're giving it like 6 to 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That's fine, I guess. I don't think that's a really particularly low score personally.
No.
I think an 8's a pretty good score. I know a lot of people like the 7 to 10 scale, and I think if you look at reviews from mainstream sites over the past year or two, they seem to be coming back down to a more grounded kind of thing, other than, you know, Grand Theft Auto or something that's pretty much perennially going to get like 90 plus across the board. But I mean, that's not really unwarranted either.
No,
That's the thing,
I mean,
though, is a
it's-
lot of the games that I consider to be really fun, like Wolfenstein, got a 78 Metacritic. You know, like these a lot of popular games. Watch Dogs is like what 82 or 3 or something like that. So I mean, what used to be like probably a 90 95 Metacritic game is probably now like an 80 to 85. You know, it's kind of
well, and
weird how
it's sitting at 75 right now.
which isn't bad. That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's a pretty decent score. If you consider, you know, 60 or so to be average. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people consider 80 to be average, that's pretty extraordinary, I think. But I was gonna say I think it's pretty much a testament to how good Bungie's designers are. That I know I played the alpha and the beta. You know, and I liked them when I played them. I just haven't gotten paid yet. It's one of the main reasons I haven't bought it. But when I was playing it, I'm definitely not an MMO guy. You know, I
Me
played
neither.
I think I played Diablo 2 back in like 2001 or something, right? That was like the last loot drop game I really played too. I haven't played Borderlands a lot. So the fact that I got hooked on this game was, I thought, a testament to their design, and the fact that, like you said, it never really, there's no tutorials, and that's not unusual for a beta. But I thought there would be a tutorial in the final version. But even in the beta, I had no problems picking up on exactly how to play. You know what I mean? Like what everything was for. It took, you know, a couple of rounds of you know, missions and whatnot, but I was able to figure everything out for myself, and that was, I don't know if it's rewarding, but it's I guess it's designed well enough to where it's not an issue.
Yeah,
know?
well, and like I was saying, the very, very beginning, they kind of, you know, they basically briefly just say, hey, go pick up this weapon. Hey, you know, fire here. Hey, do this. And then once they tell you that's it, and they don't explain items, they don't explain how bounties work, they don't explain, you know, and that's the other thing. Their menu system is totally like, it's like, it feels like it's meant for like a mouse, but you're using a joystick.
Yeah, I didn't
because you
like
have to
that.
move the cursor.
I didn't like that. It's also curious with that kind of menu system and the type of game it is, why there is no PC version even announced yet. I don't know. It still makes me wonder why, but
Yeah.
whatever. It's a totally different issue.
But
Anyway,
it's just an interesting menu interface.
and why doesn't the PS4 version use the touchpad for that menu? You know what I mean? That would
Yeah.
be real easy, because I do that on PC. On PC, you can use DS4 Tool, which is a driver for the DualShock 4 to act as a 360 controller, and you can use the touchpad as a mouse, like at any point in time.
Yeah. They
It's-
could also use the motion sensor too.
Yep. So I don't know.
But-
That was a curious decision.
I mean, overall, you know, it's kind of, I feel sad for Bungie in a way, because they're getting really harped on, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, finally they don't make a great game." You know, their game, you know, they made a shitty game, and you know, and it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of with you here. I would prefer polarizing AAA titles, because in my opinion, when you have such a broad range of people liking it and disliking it, and it seems about equal level, to me, I don't know, I think that pretty much is a success. Like, I don't think when it's all one way or all the other way
Well,
that it's
when it's all positive, like super positive, you get people starting to wonder how much they paid for the reviews. Whenever it's super negative, it's probably just a terrible game. When it's polarizing, you got, you know, I think you have honest opinions, which is where it should be. You know, I think every game, just about every popular movie, has its fair share of negative reviews as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it should be the same for games. For a long time there, practically every major gaming outlet was pretty much unanimous in what games were great and which ones weren't. You know,
Yeah.
and that just, with the whole, you know, the whole Gamergate thing going on right now, that's the reason why, is you have too much, you know, fraternizing going on with, you know, the media and the developers. Oh, the publishers. I shouldn't say the developers, but you know what I mean? Like, it just calls into question their integrity, and that's all. Whenever you have the reviews kind of coming out to be more like the mid 70s to mid 80s being like a really positive score, I think that's more where it should have been the entire time. And I think now we're kind of getting to where it should be.
Yeah, and it's just a sign that shows that this is a game that's going to appeal to a broad range of people. And to be honest, that's just most things in life. It's usually, everybody, that just proves everybody's different, and there's going to be different opinions. And it's just sometimes the more positive the lineup, for example, The Last of Us is pretty much critically
Right.
acclaimed, and yet I still know quite a few people that couldn't get into it. Didn't like
I couldn't get into it on PS3.
Yeah.
I'll try it again on PS4. I'm actually trying to get it from GameFly now, but they're freaking distribution centers in LA now. They had one in Austin, Texas, which is like 8 hours from me. And then they closed that one down and moved it to Kansas City. I emailed them about it. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, well, after a couple of shipments, then we might change it to the more, whichever one is the more efficient for your address. And I'm like, cool. So I'll have like a wasted month of GameFly where it takes 2 weeks to get a game. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so, but yeah, like it's like you were saying, it's I don't know, it's a sign that it is a broadly appealing game. I think whenever it is polarizing like that, it is kind of strangely more appealing to more people than a super popular game with a lot of critics, because like a game like Call of Duty, it is popular, and numbers wise, but it has like a pretty set type of audience. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so something like Destiny isn't going to have that super set type of audience. It's probably going to have a lot of female players. It's probably going to have a lot of younger players as well as older players. So
But see, I could see people picking this up because they like Call of Duty and then not liking it because of the MMO /
that
RPG
too.
aspects.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, I mean, it'll shake out. We'll see how it does. We'll see if it warrants the $500 million development budget for the entire trilogy.
Well, didn't they already make it, or did they already?
I think
get
they
that
probably
back?
did. Yeah. Well,
So-
they made that in revenue, but I don't know if
Yeah.
they made it back. I don't know if they made it. If they made that much on the series already, they will. But I mean,
Oh, they will.
the fact that they didn't, smash the Watchdog numbers of sell through and stuff like that, because they would be championing that if they did. I don't know. I don't know if that's. I think they were. They were hoping to, but
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll.
But you see, like,
Nope.
I think hype has a hype is interesting, and I was telling somebody the other day about this. I was like, I'm actually glad that the Evil Within isn't very hyped and people aren't really excited for it, because usually when games aren't, they have a tendency to just really blow people away.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing is going on with the Evil Within that went on with Wolfenstein: The New Order, because Bethesda was super quiet about that game, but they were very confident about it too. You could tell because they would live stream it and they would do all kinds of things. They would show it off at all kinds of events, and it was one of those things where they just wanted people to get their hands on it and to watch it, and to really get a feel for actually what the game is like.
Yeah,
And
they
they're-
weren't hiding anything.
No, yeah, and they're doing the same thing with the Evil Within. I've
Yeah,
probably seen a good 2 or 3 hours of the game now, and
It's been at trade shows constantly and cons. It's got the live streams,
and word of mouth is
It's-
super super positive every time I see something hands on posted about it.
Yeah, we have a GAF thread now, the official GAF thread before the official OT.
Pre-launch thread.
Yep,
That's cool. Well,
and we're all changing our avatars.
I look forward to talking about that one when it comes out. And is it next
Yeah,
month, right?
definitely.
It's about a
Yeah,
month from now.
October 14th.
So literally a month from today. There you go. And you're listening to this on the 15th, so
Yeah, so
literally less than a month from today.
Yeah, we have 4 full weeks before it comes out.
Man,
Basically,
that's,
4 full
that's
full
not
work
that's
weeks.
not long now.
No,
So that's cool.
not to mention Alien comes out the week before.
Yep, it's a loaded holiday season.
And the week before
once
that,
again, even after all the
Mordor.
delays. So, yeah, Mordor's made by Monolith, right? So that's
Yeah,
going to be
that's-
cool because they
Mhm.
apparently like ripped the animations directly out of
Don't beat up your mic,
Assassin's
John.
Creed 2, right? So anyway, so transitioning on to another subject, I guess. One of the things that I did this past week, after having moved to El Paso, I picked up a show called The Bridge, which actually takes place here, and it's
So
a
you're
very
biased.
it's a very happy, uplifting show. If anyone knows of where El Paso is, it's right on the border, right in the corner, the westmost corner of Texas. It's right below New Mexico and right above Mexico itself. So literally a half-hour drive from here is a very upbeat, happy, chipper town called Juarez, Mexico. and that's where the cartel lives. Yay! And tons of beheadings happen every day, and thousands of murders happen every year. It's fantastic. So, the show is actually kind of it's a murder mystery, which is kind of strange. I wasn't expecting that out of it, but it stars Diane Kruger, who she played Helen of Troy in the movie Troy, and she was in Inglourious Bastards. She's the blonde girl. She's actually German, and you wouldn't know it watching the show. She has like a perfect American accent, and it also stars, I don't know his freaking name, but he played Esteban in Weeds. I don't know. Anyway, it's a bunch. It also has like Daniel, what's his name, plays Shaggy, that guy in it. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Yeah, you know. What I'm talking about. So anyway, I can't remember his last name, but it has a few people that I've heard of in it, but it's on FX, and it's one of those shows that's like PG-13, like as far as language and whatnot, but almost R as far as gore, that kind of thing. And it starts out like the first episode, they find a dead woman on the bridge to Mexico from El Paso, and she's laying perfectly with her torso, with her waist rather, right on the borderline, and so half of her is in Mexico and half of her is in the U.S. And the funny thing is they try to pick her up to put her in a body bag, and she breaks in half, and so the bottom half is actually from like some Mexican woman, and the top half is actually an American judge, and so there's two halves of two different people in each side of the country, and then it sets out to basically figure out who they were, why it happened that way, and all this stuff. And it, like I said, it turns into like kind of they're tracking like a serial killer. But it does touch upon the cartel being so close to here, and the scenery is actually really interesting, because if you just watch it, that's pretty much what I look at when I go to work every day. It's just it's just, as you probably know, Justin, living in Arizona, it's just desert.
Yeah.
There's not much to look at. There's a lot of mountainous terrain around here and whatnot. It's actually kind of pretty, but with all the destruction and stuff going on not too far from here, it's kind of odd, because this is actually like a really peaceful town. From what I've experienced so far, it's no different from where I lived in Georgia, pretty much, and it's kind of it is surreal. It's like knowing that kind of stuff is going on, literally a half-hour drive from here. I've been told by people I work with and things like that, like, be careful with road signs around here because it can be kind of confusing. Don't go on a road that just says to Juarez. Just stay away from that. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And I was like, but you can turn around, right? And they're like, no, like there's one road you can literally just not turn around on, apparently. And you're just straight going to Juarez if you get on it. So good times. But so I'll stay away from that side of town. But it is an interesting show. It's actually really, really well acted, I think. And the pacing's really cool, because each episode basically feels like part of a really long show, so it never really, most of them don't have like a ending to them. They just kind of end in the middle of the episode, kind of like 24 or something. And I like shows like that because they just feel like they're super long, basically.
Like Walking Dead.
Yeah, like The Walking Dead. No, that just feels super long because never mind. But yeah, overall it's a pretty cool watch, and it's really interesting to see I guess it's kind of like a Hollywood view of this area, and that's kind of like how I am, because I'm just an outsider coming here for the first time, and it's interesting kind of seeing the parallels of what I would perceive this place to be, and then, talking to people that live here that have seen the show and actually like getting, oh, don't pay attention to that show because we don't all wear cowboy hats and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but the cartel really does murder people, right? And they're like, well, yeah, that part's true. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. Like, I'm really glad, like, the worst part about the show is the nonfiction part, So anyway, but overall, yeah, check it out if you can. It's, I think they're on season 2 now. They're on season 2 now, and it's like into 10 or 11 episodes.
I should watch it, and it'd be like definitely a reason not to visit down.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's actually it's really interesting too, because I work in news here, so I get to hear all the stories about all the stuff going on, and news focuses on the macabre, basically. Yeah, the negative, and if like that's the saying is, if it bleeds, it leads. That's like literally one of the fundamentals of news nowadays. And happy stories always go at the end of the show to kind of like end on a positive note because all this horrible
Hey.
stuff we told you about for the last 30 minutes.
Hey, now we just rubbed your nose in a bunch of shit, but hey, we're gonna wipe it off for you.
We're gonna wipe it off with this nice little fluffy feather pillow. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about it going in. Was just kind of like, what is this gonna be like? What is it? Is it gonna be accurate or realistic? Is it gonna be, and for the most part, it is pretty realistic. It seems anyway. It's not really like an exaggerated take. It is kind of with the murder stuff and all this stuff because it's the killer is super super smart and very very precise with everything he does, and that never happens. Like it's not like Silence of the Lambs is real. But with everything like around the show, the culture and stuff in it, it's pretty interesting. Anyway, just it's a really interesting part of the country.
I'm looking at Google Maps too, and I realized how close you are to Roswell, New Mexico now.
I am, yeah. I'm about 3 hours away. I think I'm 3 hours west of the Carlsbad Caverns, from what I'm told, which is kind of cool. And 3 hours south of Albuquerque.
You're 3 hours you're about 3 hours east of me now.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, man. I can literally go to El Paso, zoom out, and I'm like, oh look, there's where I live.
Well, that's
this is like the closest we've been.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. That's the closest we'll ever get. But that's the thing too is no, seriously, we're working on something. We might actually do like a live show at some point, but yeah, but Juarez is literally, I'm looking at the map of El Paso now. What's interesting is Fort Bliss is like a big army base here, and that's like, one of the reasons I think this town is actually rated for the past 14 years straight. I think it's been named top 3 safest cities in the U.S., which is really interesting with all of the stuff going on lately around here. But yeah, it's really an interesting place to be, and it's kind of cool. I need to brush up on my Spanish because everywhere I go in this town speaks Spanish. But
that's how it is with my town too, because I'm near the border as well. So
yeah, but yeah, we might have a bilingual podcast at some point.
El poquito.
Poquito español. Mi español es basura.
Pero sos pistolas.
I don't know.
Anyway.
¿Dónde está el gato en mi pantalones?
El baño.
Yeah, my parents always told me when I was younger, no El Baño. Like I've known that all my whole life because they went to Cancun on their honeymoon, and they were like, "Donde está el baño?" Learn it if you ever go down there. That's one of the most important questions ever. Where's the bathroom? So anyway, that's what I've been watching, and I'm probably gonna move on to season 2 this week and then catch up. And then I'll probably have to wait till season 3 is done airing to watch it. So, but anyway, you watched The Walking Dead. You've been catching up on that. Now you're on what, season 3?
Season 3, yeah.
Season 3 of The Walking Dead. I think that's halfway through season 3 is where I stopped watching. Gotcha. So I know everything you've seen so far.
See, I started it. It came out when I was in Afghanistan, and then it started. I saw the first season there. Somebody downloaded it, and then the second one had started coming on, and somebody was getting it, and then I watched like one episode, and then I never touched it again. And I've been wanting to. It's been in my Netflix queue forever, but finally we decided to just start it, and so we got through season 2 a couple weeks, like a week or 2 ago, and now we're on season 3. And, I like it still a lot, but season 2 was really rough at the start because it was so slow. But I do think after about halfway point of that one, I enjoyed it, and I've liked all of season 3 so far. So,
how far into season 3 have you gotten? So far?
We're on episode 8, so
you're about halfway through.
About halfway. Glenn got captured with the other girl,
right? And
the governor is basically wanting to go after them, and Rick and them are actually approaching the city.
Governor, Andrea, you weird-looking mouthed woman, you. Man, she's such a weird-looking chick. I thought it was a chick from Tremors the first time I saw her, but it's not. She just has that weird, like, really, really gaping smile. And you're like, what is going on there?
It's like, what's up?
Yeah, I know. It's like, what does your skeleton look like? I just want to know.
But no, I'm enjoying it. Like I said, season 2, the first half was really just slow, but I've enjoyed it so far, and I'm looking forward to the fourth one.
I got tired of the just the nonstop drama, and just like Rick is literally one of the worst leaders of anything I've ever seen, and I don't understand why people follow him because he sucks. But I'm just like, really, like and then like he's British, the guy that plays him. I forget his name now, but he's actually a British guy or Welsh anyway. He so whenever he does his little Southern accent, it doesn't sound anything like a Georgian because I lived there, and that was that was annoying to me because his son, speaks like, "Hey, Dad, what are we gonna do next, Dad?" And he's like, "Carl, we gotta go down the road, Carl." And it's like, fuck off. Like, I'd be like, "Dad, why are you talking like fucking Forrest Gump? Shut up." And it just drove me crazy. But
I think the reason why though that people like him is he kind of, well, at least he was. I don't know about anymore. Things that seem to be changing, but he was kind of like he kind of had that humanity aspect to him left, and to help people.
Yeah, he's like the Avery man, and like everybody's like, "I would be like that guy because I'm from Georgia, and that's what we do down here." Peach. But yeah, that's the thing is, it's just it tries, I think, too hard at times to be like more than just a zombie show, and it's not more than a zombie show, and I think now it actually in the later seasons, when you get past where you are now, you'll find that it's kind of finding out what it should have been the whole time, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
And I know people that kind of fell off the wagon are getting back on it because it's just entertaining again, and for a while it just kind of gets boring. I'll probably pick up on the show again because I write for Bloody Disgusting sometimes, and it's probably best to be up on my horror, but at the same time, I don't know, season 2.5 to 3.5 really is kind of like ugh.
Yeah, see, I've liked all of season 3.
Me, so well, that's cool. I hope you end up liking the second half of it too, because I've seen episodes here and there since then, but I haven't watched religiously. Like I marathoned it on Netflix for like a good 2 or 3 weeks at one point, and then I just didn't feel like watching anymore. So it's an okay show. I have to get back into it, and I've never read
working on a spinoff.
Probably, yeah. Better Call Zombie. No, that's never mind. Better Call Saul is the Breaking Bad.
There is another zombie show that I guess just started though.
Is there?
I can't remember the name of it, but they said this one's kind of being a little more cheeky about it.
The Running Dead.
So I don't know. I just saw IGN say something.
28 years later. I'd watch that one. That'd be just like 28 years later, and they're just like decomposed skeletons that's running after people. It's like the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, basically. Do it with like claymation. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Crappy like 70s claymation.
Like shoestrings, like making things fly through the air.
Yeah. So, going along with the late to the party fest that we're having tonight, everyone join along. If you're late to something, don't feel bad because Justin and I are always late to things. I caught a movie last night called Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and who else is in that freaking movie? I don't even think I know anybody.
Didn't they change the name of it now? It's like
to what? From what?
It's like I think instead of Edge of Tomorrow, now they're promoting it as Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, is that right?
Pretty sure.
I don't know why. Sure. I think it was because it's a Groundhog Day sequel.
Yeah.
Pretty much, it's like Groundhog Day meets The Matrix. For those of you who haven't seen it,
Bill Murray turned it down.
Yeah, so he turned it down because he had to attend a funeral because of his many dying friends. Sorry. Anyway, so. That was really like dark. I don't understand that. So
maybe because you work at a news station.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So this movie's directed though by Doug Liman, who directed the Bourne Identity, the first one.
Oh, okay.
And he also directed. Hold on, what else did he direct? Oh, it has Emily Blunt. It has Bill Paxton in it. That's right. I forgot about that.
Game over, man.
Yeah, he plays an army sergeant. Go figure. Really, really tough to imagine him in that. But let's see. What else did Doug Liman direct? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I think, and some other things like that. But basically, his style is just nonstop, like edge of your seat kind of thrill action, that kind of thing. And it's just like literally from beginning to end, the movie's just really fast paced. It just literally throws you in to the middle of everything that's going on. And what's funny is it does it with the main character too. Tom Cruise plays I think he plays a general in the army, and the funny thing is, like, he was an insurance salesman or something like that before, and he lost his job, and he had a friend in the army that could get him like a high ranking position basically, and he's a really good marketer. So what he did was he's basically a recruiter, and he goes in and gets all these people to join the military, even though he's not actually combat trained himself. And so he goes into this meeting with a general, a British general, and there's aliens that are on the planet, and they're set to attack London the next day. And I think London's like the last stronghold or something. But anyway, so they have the meeting, and then the general tells Tom Cruise, "You're going into combat tomorrow." And Tom Cruise is like, "I'm not combat trained, so I'm not going. Sorry. And I'm not even American. You're British. How are you commanding me?" And he's like, "Well, I've talked to your commanding officer, and you're going into combat tomorrow. Sorry." Tom Cruise literally says, "What do you think people would think? How do you think people would react if I told them that you were responsible for everyone getting killed?" And then he says, "Are you trying to blackmail me?" And he says, "I just don't want to go into combat." And he goes, "All right, don't worry. You won't go to combat." So he says, "I'm glad we're able to see eye to eye." Gets up, walks out of his office, gets arrested for blackmailing in general, and literally gets tased, and then wakes up with his rank stripped, and he's in uniform, but there's a note in Bill Paxton's pocket that was given to him, basically telling him that Tom Cruise is a deserter and will come up with this really bullshit story about him being a general and a high-ranking official in the U.S. Army, and that he's not to be believed, and so on and so forth. And he literally just gets thrown into the middle of a battle the very next day, even though he's never been in any kind of training whatsoever. And what's cool is, like, you go on this ride of just him basically, and they don't tell you anything, like they don't give you like a big scroll like Star Wars, explaining the situation. They don't do anything to really inform you of the situation. They let you find out along with Tom Cruise's character, which is really cool. And the funny thing is, like, in the middle of the battle, he kills this. They're called mimics, the aliens. And he kills this mimic, this special kind of mimic that basically, if it bleeds on you, it gives you its power. And its power is that it can reset the day over and over and over and basically memorize every single aspect of the battle. And that's how they win. That's how they conquer alien races, is they remember everything literally that happens in the battle, and they're able to, outthink, or kind of not outthink, but, basically rig it to where they can't lose. And Tom Cruise ends up stealing the power from this mimic, and he ends up reliving the same day over and over and over and over. And he goes from being this soldier this guy who isn't a soldier who can't do anything. Sorry, I gotta go. They're coming for me.
I was like,
but anyway,
what'd Don do?
But he goes from being this general who's never fought in his a day in his life to literally memorizing the entire battle, and then he ends up getting trained throughout this process of reliving the same day over and over and over, and he just turns into like the ultimate badass basically. So it's pretty cool because it's all in one day in his life, But the script is really, really smartly written, and it's really, really well directed, and it's never boring at any point in time. Good. It's a really cool movie. So if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. It's a really, really cool watch.
How does it compare? And I haven't seen this one either, but how does it compare to Tom Cruise's previous sci-fi movie, Oblivion?
I haven't seen Oblivion either.
Oh, okay.
So,
because I heard good things about that too.
I have to. I'm one of those people that I like Tom Cruise. I think he does himself a really, really good service by picking scripts really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's the best actor of all time. I don't think he's, a really formidable action hero or something like that. But he's in a lot of really good movies. And that's basically, like, I just think he's really smart about what roles he's in because he knows what works for him. And, so this is another one of those movies where he just works really well in this role, especially, because at the beginning you get to see him die a lot, which is, I think a lot of people want to happen because of the whole Scientology thing and whatnot. But then, like, as he keeps on, that's the thing too. He has to die throughout the day for the day to restart. If he lives through the day, then he loses the power basically. So he has to, he dies over and over and over and over in an attempt to like memorize everything he has to do throughout the day. And he literally goes through the same day like 200 or 300 times. And he memorizes every single aspect of that battle.
So he knows how to basically combat it.
Exactly. And it's just a really cool concept, first of all, because I've never really seen a movie like it other than, obviously Groundhog Day, but it's like a comedy. It's like the total opposite of this thing. It's basically like, what if, this happened, but it was, the end of the world was at stake or something. And it was a cool concept, and then the execution is really, really solid. I was really surprised by how well it worked. But yeah, so check it out if you get a chance. I will definitely recommend it. You watch it.
Yeah, I'm behind on movies. Like I still need to see Asylum and.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those either. What was the last one I saw? I saw like Under the Skin, which is the Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah,
she's like
a weird flick.
Yeah, it is a weird movie. I know people on the Bloody Disgusting liked it a lot. They thought it was like a really, really unconventional, really scary horror movie. And to me, it was just kind of like this really artsy, kind of strange, obscure, hard to follow and get into kind of art cinema, sci-fi flick. And I was like, I didn't even look at it as a horror movie. If I did, maybe I would look at it a little differently. But going in, I thought it was just a sci-fi flick the entire way. And I don't know, like it just didn't have the lasting effect on me it did on some of the people that I've spoken to about it. And that was one of those movies where I was just like, okay, well, I gave it a 3 out of 5, and people are like, "That's a horrible score. What's wrong with you? This movie's like, it's cutting edge. It's innovative." And I'm like, I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was fucking weird. That's the thing, is like a lot of times you'll find these movies that are, seen as innovative and cutting edge, and some people pick up on that, and I was just not one of those people at all in this. So
yeah, it's like there was a movie with George Clooney came out like called Solaris.
Oh yeah.
I watched that, and it was about the most boringest movie I think I've seen. And I was just like, how do people like this movie?
Edge of Tomorrow is kind of like that, because it takes, an old idea and it puts a really cool spin on it. And I could see it just because it's literally the same day over and over and over again. And they show the same events over and over and over again with just a little bit different, just like a line of dialogue difference or something. And the whole point is just to hammer home how many times Tom Cruise's character is trying this out in order to memorize everything, how hard it is. And I could see it just being lost on people and them going like, yeah, but they don't do anything. They don't go anywhere. They're literally in the same camp, in the same building, in the same room, like through the whole movie,
This would be so unconventional in a lot of ways, but I would love to see an indie game maker do a game that's all one huge level and everything is pre-scripted. Everything is set in place. Nothing ever changes. Yet when you die, you have to start over. So every time you die, you realize why you died. And then, I have to do this.
So you have to memorize every single thing?
Yeah. That'd be crazy.
That's kind of like how Bit Trip Runner is.
Yeah.
Bit Trip Runner pissed me off so bad because I would hit these games. It's a game, for those of you who haven't played it. It's just like set to a drum beat basically. And you have to, it's a platformer, or I guess sort of, but you have to basically just jump up over and duck under obstacles as they come along, and it's all set to like a beat of music. So if you press it a little too early, you'll hit the obstacle and you'll die, and then you have to start all the way back at the beginning of the level again every single time. And like I would get like through 3 or 4 levels, and then it just gets so hard that I wouldn't even bother. So that's how I'd react to one of those games. I'd just be like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, but can you
I'm
beat
going
that
back
game?
to
Is
Resident
there an
Evil 4.
legitimate ending?
I don't know. I think there is. Maybe not.
You're like, I don't know. I never got that far.
No, I didn't bother. I didn't try to because it pissed me off. So I went back to Resident Evil 4. That was like in 2007 on the Wii.
I know we kind of talked about everything we're going to say. Right? We touched on everything.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but I was going to ask you because, okay, September's here. We're getting closer, about midway now. We're getting closer to the end of September, where the gauntlet of games are about to just drop.
Right.
So what are your most excited games for the rest of the year?
Games. I'm looking forward to The Evil Within, probably first and foremost, because isn't it Shinji Mikami's last game he's directing?
Well, he said that, but then he also said that he basically he said that, but then he said maybe not. So
I was gonna help drive your point home even more. He also said he'd cut off his own head if Resident Evil 4 got ported to the PlayStation 2.
Yes, but that's when he left.
Oh, is that right?
That's when he left.
Yeah, but he still has his head.
Yeah, he does. But I think
so he's known as being a liar.
What's the next thing you could do after said head cutting? Probably quit the company that you made the game for. So at least he did that. But
yeah, that's true.
But I think I don't know. You know, it was supposed to be his last game, but I think I don't know. Maybe him doing it has like
Well, like
revitalized
even
him.
the guy that like did Katamari Damacy, so he like left the industry, and then he's not even like a big game designer, but even he came back and started doing it again. So I think it's kind of like crack. Like this
Just
is
like
like
what's his name, Hideo Kojima.
yeah, it's
Oh,
just
Metal Gear Solid
addictive.
4 is the end of it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
done.
right. I totally forgot about that too. Yeah, it was the end of it. That was the last
I'm
one I
done.
bothered playing. But that's the thing is I don't know, like other than that, let's see. What else is coming? I'm looking forward to Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah.
I've liked all the Assassin's Creeds except for 3, which is funny because I know like when 3 came out, I was like shitting on it on Twitter. Like even today, when I was saying that about Destiny, like or yesterday, I was like, "Oh, thank God I didn't buy Destiny because all the reviews." I
Yeah.
wasn't being serious, but the way that I like just railed on Assassin's Creed 3, and I still do, because I was so disappointed with it. But that's why is because I was so disappointed with it because I like the series and I've liked all of them except for that one. So I don't know.
I even like that one.
Revelations wasn't that great, I didn't think, but it was still serviceable. And I'm really looking forward to the new one, especially because it looks really nice. First of all, it looks like it's really pushing.
And everything's to scale.
Yeah, that too. I'm really, really looking forward to Grand Theft Auto next gen, but that was announced that it's not coming to PC till January 27th, 2015, which pissed me off. Didn't surprise me, but it still pissed me off. And I'm just probably going to wait on the PC version on that.
Why do you think
because
they're doing that? Why do you think they're waiting 2 months?
they do that because of fears of piracy. They think that if people have a PC that they can run the game on, that it's easy enough for them to just download it instead of going out and buying it on the consoles. It's
Yeah.
really, I think it's really like it's an antiquated theory because plenty of companies, and they released, I think, no, they didn't. They released Max Payne 3 2 weeks after the console versions. So Rockstar is still one of those companies that does this, but most companies now release their games day and date with the console versions on PC, and I don't think that the sales suffer on consoles because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of an antiquated way of thinking. Now they always claim, we need a couple extra months for polishing it. We want to. Well, okay. The last time I believed that was the case was when Arkham City came out, because Arkham City was actually delayed a month after the console versions, and so it comes out and it's a complete fucking disaster in DirectX 11. It didn't even run. Like it was a nightmare. And it still really doesn't run really well. And it turned out that the guys at Rocksteady that were supposedly polishing it for the extra month, they were on vacation the whole time. Yeah, so that's not really the truth most of the time. So anyway, it's silly, but it is what it is. You can't really do anything about it. So other than that, I'm looking forward to like all kinds of remasters. It's weird. I'm looking forward to the Grand Theft Auto because I haven't played it yet. What else am I looking forward to? What else is coming out? I'm kind of honestly looking forward to Advanced Warfare, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's from the creators of the original Dead Space, the guys at Sledgehammer, Glenn Schofield, I think's his name, and some one of the other guys were the actual creators of the franchise Dead Space, and that was when Dead Space was the kind of open, kind of backtracking, different game than Uncharted in space that it became. So
Do you find it interesting that those guys, some of the original creators of that series, were doing Call of Duty, and then you got
I
actual
know.
company Visceral
Right.
doing
Battlefield.
like, what are the odds?
I know, it's kind of weird. But it's a shame though, because it's really a shame because that's kind of the only way they can have a job right now. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they went from working on an original new IP to having to fall back on these legacy franchises at this point, because Battlefield has been around for years and so has Call of Duty. And I mean, they both span generations now, like they both span 3 generations. So the fact that they had to kind of go to those franchises, that type of game to still have a job is kind of depressing. I don't know, but it's also kind of a microcosm of exactly how the gaming industry is right now, right? It's like just most of the mainstream high paying jobs are in that kind of I don't know, that kind of work. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one solace I take is EA came out and did say Dead Space isn't dead, so
hopefully,
that gives me hope.
even Dead Space 3, I don't like it all that much. Like I replayed it a month or so ago. I
Yeah,
just
no, you didn't like it.
yeah, I don't like it that much. But even even then, it's better than a lot of other games. It's because of how polished it was, and like they're really really solid game makers. I just think that game was tampered with too much personally. Like it really shows, the lack of focus on a lot of things, the way that they went from like dedicated ammunition to like a universal type of ammo for all the
Hmm.
weapons, the weapon crafting system. I didn't never use it. Like I just used the pre-made ones.
Okay.
I don't know. There were a lot of like unfinished ideas in there. I felt, and a lot of it was with the microtransactions and things like that. It just seemed like it was tampered with too much, and it wasn't exactly what it should have been. Another, some of the other stuff I didn't like in Dead Space 3 was like the boss battles. I felt they were just like annoying. Like that thing that shows up 3 different times. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it just is tedious to get past the battles every single time. Toward the like from halfway through the game on, it's literally just like the end of Dead Space 2, which I did not like at all. And Dead Space 2 didn't have a final boss. They made up for it by just giving hordes of enemies at you, that just completely just take out all the fun to me. And that was pretty much what the second entire half of Dead Space 3 was like, and I didn't like that at all either. So I mean, it's just I even though all of that stuff that I complain about is, going on with the Dead Space franchise, I can still recognize like talent when I see it. You know what I mean? So it's still a really solidly made game. The graphics are amazing. Honestly, like the animations are really really great. I mean, all the production value is fantastic in Dead Space 3. It's just the game design wasn't there for me. And then even going on that, the spin-off game that they made for the franchise was good. Extraction. Extraction was a really fun game, I thought. So I'd hate to see the franchise die, but we'll see.
Hey, what can you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just glad Visceral's still around, because after Dead Space 3 failed to break 5 million sales like they were hoping, I didn't know what was going to happen to him, honestly. And I was joking on NeoGaf, like when Dead Space 3 came out, I was like, well, looks like they'll be making map packs for Battlefield. I even got a PM from Neuralac, the mod,
Yeah.
and he said, I'm taking it that this isn't just a guess, and I was like, uh oh, no, I don't know anything. I'm just taking a guess here, but that's how
That's
factual it seemed.
hilarious.
Yeah, so, um, but I mean, yeah, sure enough, they're making
That's a
not just map packs, an entire dedicated Battlefield game, but
that's like one of those like, wait a minute, does he know?
yeah.
Does he?
No, but that's why I stopped doing that kind of posting, because that's frowned upon there, pretending like you're an insider or something when I'm not. I don't know anything. But that's the thing. I mean, it was just like a common sense kind of thing you could figure out for yourself, and it ended up becoming true. And that's just depressing. It sucks. It's really kind of the same for like the movie industry too. It's like, oh, I bet, my bad. I bet
Stop!
it's like,
Stop abusing your
I
microphone.
bet the next Spider-Man is going to be made by a music video director to save money. Oh, and sure enough, the fucking last 2 Spider-Man movies were made by a music video director. So I mean, you can just pretty much kind of read trends and where things are going. But that's also too, like, after Christopher Nolan and Sam Raimi and Peter Jackson, who are by all accounts kind of like, they were kind of like shots in the dark. They were talented and you could tell they were skilled, but to give them like $200 million budgets and trust them that the movie would come out as well as each of their movies did, that was kind of like lightning in a bottle. And I don't think, in order to have that kind of thing happen again, is really fucking out there. So you see that with a bunch of the movies though now, like the last Captain America movie, The Winter Soldier, which I watched and was freaking awesome. Uh, that was who was that? Like where did they come from? It was like a TV writer director duo that directed that movie. And it was like somebody you wouldn't even think of, But look how it turned out. But yeah, anyway.
Well, I guess I could say I'm glad to know that The Evil Within is probably your most awaited game because
Well, yeah, because of Shinji Mikami's pedigree. That's pretty much it. You know,
That don't mean shit.
Without him, I wouldn't be interested at all. But he's there, so I'm in. Thanks for listening tonight, everybody. What'd you learn tonight? Other than that, The Evil Within is one of mine.
I learned that if I can get an alien to pee on me or bleed, I can repeat things and learn.
Yeah, you can.
So, but no, I want to check that movie out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a really well written, directed movie. It's like really solid all around, actually. Let's see. I learned not much really.
You learned that you're close to me.
That's true. I am closer to you geographically.
Yes.
Not emotionally. Gotta have to really kind of point that out to people. What else? What happened there? Okay, whatever. My computer's like shitting itself now. I think. Oh, by the way, I think it's September 18th. Nvidia's having an event, like a stream event, and they might be announcing new graphics cards. Oh man, I'm getting my signing bonus that day. No, the next day, the 19th, I'm getting it. So we'll see what happens there. I might have a GTX 670 for sale if anybody out there is interested. Just saying. What else? Man, I didn't really learn much at all. I don't learn anything on this podcast because I'm the one bestowing information. So it's tough to learn things when you're the teacher. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I don't understand it at all. What's going on over here? Over there. I learned that I'm 30 miles away from destruction and death and just utter depression this past week, which is weird.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. Not quite on the same scale, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Now we both live near the border.
Yeah, it's really kind of weird, but... Oh, I'll tell you this. One of the first things I did when I got here, you know, I don't know if you've moved far from home before, but if you do, you know, it's inevitable to feel kind of homesick. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
And so, like, one of the first things that I did to alleviate that, go to the mall. Go to the mall, go to Best Buy, go to GameStop. You know why? Because they're all the frickin' same. And so you feel like, you know, you're in a familiar place. So it's kind of nice.
Were you really asking me if I've ever been away from home?
No. I don't know if you've moved
or the
away
audience.
from home. Moved. Well, I know you've been gone for like a year, I know.
Yeah, that's a move. That's still a
really.
move.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Then there's no friggin' GameStops over there, are there?
No, there's not.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So anyway, that's right.
Anyway,
Justin was in Afghanistan for a year. But, you know, living somewhere for like ever away from your family is kind of strange.
It is. You feel a little. Anyway, we're going over our time, but yeah. I feel you.
All right. So check us out on Twitter. All of the different things. Whatever podcast. WHATEVA. Thanks to the people that took the ER. And check us out there and everywhere else. SoundCloud, Facebook, everything, anything you can think of. And we will be back next week with another edition of the show. In the meantime, check out our last guest, Jennifer Nicole Stang. She uploaded a new song yesterday or day before, so go check out her thing. It's La Yenny is her name on SoundCloud. And until next time, take care of yourselves, everyone. Justin.
Be good to one another.
We're out. See you.